Welcome to a special program in our series, DFL Senior Roundtable. Today, you will see the wonderful support that Terri Bonoff had as she was endorsed by the DFL 3rd Congressional District Convention. Please tune in. You can listen to questions and answers after she speaks.
Hello, my name is Kate McBride and I live in the 3rd District. I was so honored to be asked to come here today and talk about Senator Bonoff. I've been hoping she would be our candidate for the 3rd District for many years. While I followed Senator Bonoff's career for a long time and have had the privilege of voting for her, I got to know her in 2012 when we worked hand in hand to support citizens in my neighborhood who were facing insurmountable odds. While out door knocking, Senator Bonoff discovered that an entire neighborhood in her district was in the middle of a dispute with Xcel Energy. Xcel was attempting to install a large, high-voltage power line right along our backyards and through our neighborhood. You can imagine how we all felt. We feared the terrible impact on the value of the homes that we had worked so hard for, the interference with the beautiful green spaces and walking paths that made our community so enjoyable, and the potential effect that it would have on the health of our children. Senator Bonoff worked diligently to work with our neighborhood group that had organized to stop that transmission line, but we were worried that our voices would never be heard. Given the tremendous resources that this company had, we feared that we had no hope of success. Senator Bonoff's response was to draft a law specifically targeted at this line to save our neighborhood. And she did it by garnering support from both parties in the state legislature. 1 year later, Xcel returned, believing it had found a way around that law and announcing that it intended to move forward. But once again, Senator Bonoff was right there in our corner. She amended the current law to make sure that there were no loopholes that company could exploit in the future, and that her constituents did not have to live with this transmission line hanging over our heads in the future, both literally and figuratively. From that first door-knocking experience, I learned many things about Senator Bonoff. She is an amazing coalition builder. She doesn't just talk about working across the aisle, she actually does that. Faced with immense opposition, she is unafraid to tackle insurmountable odds. And more than anything, she is a tireless advocate for those she represents. I believe that she will be a great and effective Congresswoman, and that she will work without rest to make sure your concerns are heard at the highest level. With Congresswoman Bonoff in office, we have an opportunity to change a do-nothing Congress into a do-something Congress. It is my great pleasure and profound honor to support the next 3rd District Member of Congress, Senator Terri Bonoff. Thank you.
I'm not Terri, but once again, I'm John Tollefson, and I'm excited to talk with you all today about Terri. And, you know, back in December, January of this past year, we saw what was going forward with Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and all the others, and we knew that our district would reject those not even ideals, but that rhetoric that hateful rhetoric that they have. And on caucus night, I was up in Maple Grove. Where are the Maple Grove folks at? There they are. We were up in Maple Grove. They were expecting huge numbers, like Obama numbers from 2008. So they printed 700 ballots and had 2,100 people show up in Maple Grove. It was an incredible night, and every one of them thought they were the only Democrat in Maple Grove, I think. But that's what we have this year before us. We have the opportunity to to take back the 3rd. That is a real opportunity. And with a strong candidate like Terri Bonoff, we know we can do that. She's got the prowess to raise the money, to get the media attention, and to take this race for the 3rd District so that we can finally have a good representative in Washington, someone who represents our values. So friends, I give you our next representative, Terri Bonoff.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, John, for that inspiring message, and most importantly, thank you for your generous and magnanimous support. Thank you, Kate, for sharing our personal story and the story of our community. I was so very proud to represent that community in the Minnesota legislature. I am humbled and honored to be standing before you today. First, I have some thank yous of my own. I would like to thank the CD3 leadership. You heard from our chair, Ken Martin. We've got our vice chair, Marge Hoppa here. Our executive director, Corey Day, was here. All of the state central committee leaders who have worked so hard, the Senate district chairs, the vice chairs, and the tremendous volunteers that have worked not just to make today happen, but have served to make sure we elect leaders who represent our values and our vision. So a thank you to all of you for that. And then I have a special thank you to my mentor in the state Senate. She sat with me from the moment I announced my candidacy, making sure that I won that election along with you all, and has now prepared me to stand before you today, and that is Senator Ann Rest. And as a loyal mentor, she was, of course, the first to contribute to my campaign, which we very much appreciated. I also acknowledge my esteemed colleagues who are with us today, my very close friend, Representative Yvonne Seltzer, Senator John Hoffman, Senator Chris Eaton, Representative Hortman. I don't know who else is here that I've missed, but we are so very fortunate to have such amazing legislators in Minnesota representing you all. Now, if you'll just give me a moment, and so just don't time me, okay? I only get to do this one time, right? So give me a little leeway. So allow me to introduce my family, if you will. So of course, most important is I have to introduce my husband. There he is, Matthew. Matthew Bonoff. Matthew is my chief strategist and my very best friend. Our youngest son, Jacob, is here. So Jacob is here also as proxy to the brother and sister who live in D.C., Joe and Lee, and Adam, who lives in Los Angeles. I wish they could be here with us today, but thanks, Jacob, for representing our family. My brother Stephen, right there. Stephen has been my honorary, you can wait till I introduce the whole family. Stephen has been my honorary co-chair since the first campaign and has never stopped helping me, and I appreciate that. My brother Alex, where's Alex? Back there is actually not only my brother, but a field organizer on the campaign. I would like to introduce my mother, Susan Seitel, and my father, Barry Bonoff. So now, a round of applause. And I am so blessed to be surrounded by so many volunteers behind me out there, my staff who I treasure. I would not be here today were it not for you. It was so fitting that I was able to announce my candidacy in my home Senate district, where I first began my political career in District 44, and you have certainly taught me the ropes, District 44. Thank you. So thank you all for being our delegates today, representing the will of Democrats all across the South and Northwest Metro. We are proud to be CD3. When I won a special election in 2005, becoming the first Democrat to win the district in 20 years, Marge Hoff is nodding, so many here worked so hard on that. We did not have a pro-choice Minnesota Senate at that time. We had the Democrats in control, but we didn't have a pro-choice Senate. Terrell Clark and my special election victories changed the landscape, and together with our like-minded colleagues, we stopped an attack on Roe v. Wade, and at the time, Michelle Bachmann was in the Senate, and they were trying to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot at that time. I think it would have been a very different ending if they had prevailed then. But with our elections, we were able to have the votes to stop that. Then, when we did have the House and the Senate, we were able to pass the Freedom to Marry. I was proud to be one of the 5 Senate co-authors on that legislation. Our voices do matter. Together, we all change lives, we reshape history, and we transform the future. The headwinds we faced when I joined the Senate in 2005, the attack on Roe v. Wade and the aggressive attempt to limit our ability and freedom to love, is nothing compared to the gale force hurricane winds exhibited in this national presidential contest. Let me be perfectly clear, that is why I am standing here. That is absolutely why I'm standing here. I stand here to denounce that hateful rhetoric, to stand up for the interests of each and every person. We can take nothing for granted. I agree with Ken Martin. This is very risky. A Donald Trump presidency threatens our democracy, our freedom, our safety. His candidacy has brought the politics of hate to the national conversation and puts every one of us at risk, especially the disadvantaged and the most vulnerable among us. And that is very serious. But there is something that is even more serious than a Donald Trump presidency. And that is a Donald Trump presidency with a complicit Congress. That is frightening. We must have candidates up and down the ticket who can and will articulate this very real and frightening risk. I ask and have received, thankfully, your endorsement and pledge to you to be that standard bearer. I will speak out for our values and against bigotry, hate, and reckless statements that have the potential to bring violence to our country and incite both our allies and our enemies. I'm a courageous leader, I don't shrink from conflict, and I am loyal to the people and not politics. My opponent has said he will support the nominee. That is not a courageous position, and it's not in America's best interest. This is a time for people to stand up and speak out for what's right and against the politics of hatred and division. This is a time to stand up for women's rights and against those who demean women and who would push the clock back and take our rights away. In my 11 years in the state Senate, my work has been about building bridges, forging partnerships, and exchanging ideas to actually move the needle on the issues that matter most. The challenge we face in our state, our nation, and our world are grave, and it demands our best thinking and our selfless action. And we're not acting for ourselves, we are acting for our children and for their children. I'm running for Congress because I'm determined to bring that style of leadership to Washington. It is not about partisanship, and it's not about politics. We reached out to you by text. I don't know how many of you got a text from us asking what was important to you. So those of you who did, it's because we had your cell phones. We didn't have everyone's. But you answered back, and we are grateful for that. You said that economic security, job security is paramount. You said health care is important. I hear you, and I agree. I will bring the ideas and programs I've championed that reduce college debt, connect students to high-paying jobs, and make sure no one's left behind due to discrimination, lack of hope, and access to education, and support that work in Washington. You said education is important, of course, because in the CD3, our support for education is unparalleled, and any member who represents this district brings that commitment to, whether it be in the state or to Washington. I will bring my demand for early education and the full funding of the federal government's promise to pay for special education to the national conversation. Let's make that a campaign issue, right? Thank you. My knowledge and leadership in this arena will serve our families well, and with your help, we can bridge the achievement gap so that all children have an equal chance to succeed in the country. I am ready to hit the campaign trail. I love campaigns. I don't know if you knew that. Yesterday, the DCCC endorsed our candidacy by putting our race in the Red to Blue program. How's that? This program sponsors a handful of promising candidates to turn congressional seats blue around the country. It's an honor to be chosen to be part of that group. This endorsement is a signal that our country is watching this race and that they believe we will win in November. And that support is very important. They will provide a tremendous amount of resources, and that endorsement is important, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is your endorsement. Your support is what matters. So I humbly thank you for that endorsement, and I aggressively ask for your action. Join Team Bonoff in parades, on the phones, share with all your friends and neighbors. Help us close the gap between our opponent's war chest of $2.5 million by going to terribonoff.com and donating. That would be today. Today would be a great day to do that. My finance person, Madeline, she thinks that. Yep. Okay, great. We know that many of my opponent's dollars will be going to negative political attacks, but yet I believe the voters of the 3rd District will not be moved by negative political attacks that are distort my record and will simply be more of the same. We will do our best to raise the funds we need to compete, yet we know this race cannot be bought. It will only be earned. And so, my friends, now is the time. By working tirelessly together, we will go forward with our vision for a safe, strong, and prosperous America with equal opportunity for all. Stand with me, and when I'm elected on Tuesday, November 8th, 2016, I will carry all of your voices to Washington. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And as I understand it, there's supposed to be some time for some questions, so I happily will answer any questions. I do want to single out Representative Benson, who was my partner for so many years in the Minnesota legislature.